How we doing today? Hope you're having a good one. I'm Sean Stiers. Vince DeDario is with me today as well. How are you today, Mr.
I'm
D?
fantastic, Sean Stiers. I'm ready to roll, baby. Let's go.
What do they call you at the school? Are you Mr. D? Are you the Dean of Discipline? What are you known as?
The mean guy. It's usually Mr. DeDario because they don't know me as coach over there. Other schools it's been just Coach D, that kind of stuff. But
right,
it's just Mr. DeDario or Dylan's dad. Get that a lot. That kind of stuff.
That'll go away here before long.
Yes. Now it's going to be, Ella and Lily's dad. So,
right.
That's okay too.
Right. How long until, okay, so you just lost one to college.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, you've got two in high school out there. How long until the next two are in high school?
So my next daughter is in 8th grade. So she'll be in high school next year.
Okay.
And so she's class of 2030. And then my youngest is in 5th grade. And so he's class of 2033.
Oh, wow.
So
you'll have, trying to think. So you'll have 3 of them in high school next year.
For 2 years.
Right.
Yep.
But you'll never have the remaining 4 all in high school at the same time.
Nope.
Okay.
So, and this is our last year of 3 different schools at the same time. That's been a thing for a while. Yeah. So we were actually talking about this morning. Since my youngest is in 5th grade and the next school, you start middle school in 6th grade. This is our last year at the elementary school that we have been a part of in some form or fashion for 13 straight years.
Wow.
In the same school. So
will there be tears shed when it's all over with?
Probably tears of joy by the staff. I would imagine that they don't have to deal with us anymore.
They're gone.
Yes. No more DeDarios. Yay.
All right. Well, we'll get into some Notre Dame football talk here. We've got a lot in the course of this show. 17 days away until the season opener, Notre Dame and Miami, and we're creeping closer to getting to talk to Marcus Freeman as well this weekend. So looking forward to that. And supposed to talk to the coordinators as well all this weekend. So maybe we've got something finalized by then. I don't know.
One can only hope.
Yes.
And it's from a completely selfish standpoint that I just don't want to talk about it anymore.
You're not having fun talking about quarterback competitions, huh?
I mean, under the right circumstances, yes. But it's for example, somebody put out there today, Kenny Minchie is now in the lead. And it's like
a slight lead. Slight
lead, yes.
Right.
Maybe that's true. Maybe Kenny ends up winning the job. Okay, cool. I could care less either way, to be perfectly honest with you. But you don't know that. You're making things up. That's not true.
That's Jesse actually retweeted that and said, "You're the problem," with the person who tweeted that.
Yes.
It was from, one of the websites. And
look,
everyone's got their sources. I just find it hard to believe that this national guy got that information.
Correct.
From a direct source within the program. I find it very, very hard to believe. And I was just listening. The Jim Rome show comes on this station before me, and I'm kind of, hot and cold on Rome. I'd stack him above, Cowherd for sure.
Well, that doesn't take much.
He had something interesting to say because he was talking about the Miami Dolphins and Tua and things that were coming out of training camp down there. And I texted this to you, and Jesse. I want to make sure that I have the term right. Lava slingers is what he called some of the people who are at training camp and then reporting on, whether it's good or bad or whatever else, because they're essentially starting fires. And what Rome said was so many of the people who are watching this and telling you who's in the lead and what's going on and everything else don't have a clue what they're actually looking at. And they're just slinging lava, starting fires with some of the information that they put out there. And I can't disagree with that.
It is so accurate, actually.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that phrase before.
I never had either. I'm sure it's Rome, probably has
yeah,
a mark, but
it's embarrassing, is what it is. And look, maybe this guy is going to catch lightning in a bottle, and he'll be right at the end of the day, But he may not be, and you know what? There'll never be any repercussions for being completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's completely wrong. I'm saying he actually has
but if he is,
right,
if Carr ends up getting it, he could say, well, it was close. I said it was close, and then
right.
Carr overtook it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just, come on, dude.
Whatever. I think we knew this was going to happen. I'm honestly surprised that it took as long as it did for it to happen, because but again, we've only got to see one live practice and a handful of the first few periods, non-competitive stuff in practice. So there's been much less to try to parse and split hairs and everything else, I think, this year. And that's the way Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman wanted it.
The reality is, unless your quote unquote source is Mike Denbrock or Marcus Freeman
or Gino Guidugli, I would
put that's fair.
Guidugli in there.
Yeah, that's fair. Then you got nothing. Like
that's right. Because even if you ask directly one of the two quarterbacks, they're each going to tell you something different.
Yeah.
Even if you talk to them directly, they were going to tell you something different.
Correct. So I highly doubt Marcus Freeman is anybody's source on this particular topic. So
I highly agree with that.
it just blows my mind that people are pushing send on these things, but whatever. I mean, whatever puts food on your table, I suppose.
Engagement bait, driving that engagement.
You got it.
Yep. All right, today is we in, we out day. We haven't done a we in, we out, I don't think, since we started the old radio.
I think that's true.
Collaboration here. And of course, you can watch the show live on YouTube anytime you want. You can watch it archived after the fact at either the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel or the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel. And be sure you subscribe while you're there. But we've got some subscriber submitted questions regarding Notre Dame football and college football. And they're asked in we or we out fashion. I'm kind of explaining this for someone maybe who hasn't watched the show before, listened to the show before, since I don't think we've done it since we've joined up with Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat here. So we will put them up on the screen and we will go. We're going to start with JG Ytown has a handful of questions.
Okay.
Let's start with these on the offensive line.
Goodness.
We in or we out? Gerby Lambert will start and keep the guard position this year.
He's benching Billy Schrouth. Oh no, that's the middle one. I'm sorry.
That's the next question. There's a follow-up to that.
I think things are trending for him to start, and so that probably would not surprise me. And so I would be in on that part. Keeping it the whole year is a little harder because we just don't know, number one, when Charles Jagisaw is going to come back, and we don't know what level he's going to be at. Look, Gerby Lambert is playing pretty solid football right now, from what I understand. But is he better than Charles Jagisaw? That's a stretch. Charles,
that's the thing. Keeping it all year long.
Right.
That's the caveat there.
I would probably be out on him keeping it all year long, especially the guard position, because the two guards are very, 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 very talented.
Yeah, especially Schrouth.
Mm-hmm.
And Sullivan Absher is very good as well. He's been banged up a little bit, and I think that's the entry point for Gerby Lambert, obviously, is if he can hold on to that right guard spot ahead of Sullivan Absher. I'll be curious because we're going to get one more opportunity here in the next couple of days to go out and see a little bit of practice and just kind of see who's where. It's kind of our last opportunity. It is our last opportunity
Yes.
to do that, to see what's going on, because as we've talked about quite a bit, there's always been in the first 2 years with Joe Rudolph as the offensive line coach at Notre Dame, there has been at least one surprise coming out of camp. Last year there were 2 surprises coming out of camp on the offensive line. I'm like you. I won't be shocked if Gerby Lambert does get that position coming out of camp, and some of that will have to do with the health of Sullivan Absher, I think, as well. But keeping it all year, I've got to be out on that. I can't, because at some point we expect Charles Jagasaw to come back, and then it's a question of, does he slot back in at right guard, which is where he would have been, or does he press maybe even for a tackle position? So, depending on, how he plays and how the guys who start play. Now, J.G. Whitetown has a follow-up. He says, at the end of the year, the O-line will be Knapp, Jagasaw, Craig, Lambert, Wagner. So he's kicking Billy Schrouth out, and I've just got to be completely out based on that. I don't see Billy Schrouth getting from the offensive line.
If Billy Schrouth gets hurt, then sure, then this could be the end of the year offensive line. I think we're not. Yeah, there's no way you're kicking out arguably one of the best linemen on the team. Like, Billy Schrouth is arguably one of the best linemen on the team.
I think he is one of the best.
That's fair enough. I was trying to leave it open, just a little, but like, he's not going to get benched by the way he's playing. That's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm very, 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 very out on this one.
The line was better when he came back into it last year and started playing left guard. Billy Schrouth, we're talking about. So, again, this hypothetical, or this question anyway, asks, at the end of the year, the offensive line will be Anthony Knapp, Charles Jagasaw, Ashton Craig, Gerby Lambert, and Emil Wagner. So I've got to be out on that because I don't see Schrouth being the one pushed out. Now, it's going to be tough no matter what, because you've got 7 really good guys and a potential for 8 really good guys once Jagasaw is healthy. So there's good, it sets up for there to be some good competition for those spots. Because like I said, once Jagasaw comes back, I think the 2, and I'm not trying to say, this guy is playing poorly or, whatever, but we know that Jagasaw has played left tackle. We know he has played right guard, and those are the 2 positions he would slot in at one of those 2. And so the question would be, is one of those guys having whatever kind of issues, and would Charles Jagasaw solve it by coming back and taking over one of those spots by the time he comes back?
I'm very interested to see how the offensive line is playing when Charles Jagasaw is healthy again. And with the injury that he has, it's not just going to be cleared to play. It's going to be, he's going to put pressure on that arm, and he's got to do all the thing, that's what being an offensive lineman is putting pressure and break, so what's he going to look like? And is he going to be healthy enough to unseat one of the 5? I mean, that's a legit question. He is very, 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 very talented. Yeah. But how long is it going to take him to get to 100%?
Yeah. And this injury is different than the one that he had last year, because you're talking about a broken arm as opposed to what he had last year when it was a pec. So it's completely different now. He healed from that and was able to jump right in a college football playoff run and play at a very high level. But what's it going to look like this year? Is he going to be, what's his strength going to be like? Going to look like stamina, the whole thing. There's going to be a lot of different questions for him. One more from J.G. Whitetown. We in or we out, both Oregon and Texas will have 2 losses in the regular season this year.
Well, obviously, I'm going to have to look at their schedules a little bit closer here.
So here's Texas' schedule. I'll go ahead and so you can pull up Oregon while I'm looking at Texas.
I've got Oregon up. So good. Okay, that's perfect.
So Texas, of course, starts off with Ohio State on the road. Then they've got San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston. And then for Texas, it is at Florida, versus Oklahoma in Dallas, at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, at Georgia, Arkansas, Texas A&M. I mean, you can see two potential.
I could see two. I don't know that I would predict two.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Right. So what's Oregon got?
So
Oregon's got a pretty easy schedule, if I remember right.
So they open up with the mighty Montana State team. They have Oklahoma State, which is basically a group of 5 team at this point. You've got Northwest. They travel to Northwestern.
I think you're thinking Oregon State.
I'm sorry. That's next week. They have Oregon State the September 20th. My bad. You're right.
They're both right. It's funny how they're both OSU and they've got the same colors.
They're orange and black. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I apologize to the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I meant the Oregon State Beavers. They play both of them, so it doesn't really matter. But they've got Oregon State at home on the 20th. Then they travel to Penn State. There's a potential L there. They host Indiana. They travel to Rutgers. They host Wisconsin. They travel to Iowa. They host Minnesota. They host USC, and they travel to Washington. So I would say it's hard to find 2 there.
Yeah, the question is, we in or we out that Oregon and Texas will both have 2 losses this season. And I know that some of the computer models and stuff like that are not high on Oregon, and you've got Dante Moore, and what's he going to look like? You know, like they have some other significant losses from that team last year as well. But again, it's a very favorable schedule. So between the two, I would say there's a greater chance that Texas loses 2 than Oregon. I don't see both of them losing 2, though, so I've got to be out.
I'm with you 100%. And I think Texas is the better team, but I think Oregon has the easier schedule. So that's why I'm with you on that.
Absolutely. From Freeman for Life, we in or we out. This year's starting quarterback, or quarterbacks, plural, will throw less than 12 interceptions this year. So the way this question is written, it sounds like we're combining potentially starting quarterbacks. So this is both Minchie and CJ Carr combined. Is that how you're reading this?
Well, I'm reading it as he thinks there's going to be 2 different starting quarterbacks. Okay. So I guess I would be out on that part alone, but we'll grant the premise that it could be 2. And we're just referring to the 12 to 16 games, that could be started by a Notre Dame quarterback. How about that?
Okay.
So I again, barring injury, I just don't see there being a multiple starting quarterback situation. I don't think anybody's getting benched.
I don't either.
Anything like that. I just don't see that being the case. So that's the only pushback I have to the question. Other than that, I think the question is actually really good as far as interceptions and what that's going to look like. Right.
Yeah.
So I think context here, right? I think we got to find out, okay, how many interceptions did Riley Leonard throw?
He threw 8 last year. Sam Hartman threw 8 the year before that. Drew Pine threw 6.
Okay. I'm going under. Now, I do think, though, either quarterback is going to push the ball more. They're going to put the ball in the air more. So there's going to be the potential for more turnovers. You could get into double-digit interceptions. If this was a little bit of a lower number, I would take it, but I'm going to be out on the 12.
If I were setting the over/under for Notre Dame's quarterback and interceptions this season, I think I would set it at 10.5.
There you go.
Is the line that I would set.
I like that line.
And
actually.
I would, so like 12, I don't see it getting to 12. I could see 10, worst case, 11. I don't see it with, who the quarterback is. And then, like you look at the schedule, obviously the toughest games are at the front. It sets itself up very favorably after that. So I'll be out on this one. I don't see Notre Dame starting quarterback throwing 12 interceptions this season.
Cool. I'm there.
We've got some quarterback stuff building up in the chat after we started off talking about quarterbacks. So We're going to answer a couple of more of these questions from Freeman for live, and then we'll after we take a break, we'll come back and resume some of that fun stuff to talk about. So Freeman for life. We in or we out. Notre Dame will give up less than 18 points per game on defense this season.
That's a low number. I will say over just because.
It was 15.5 points a game last year.
Okay, that's lower than I thought it was, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm still going to say over just because you got a new defensive coordinator. I think there will be opportunities for the second team defense to be on the field at the end of some games, and they could give up some garbage type touchdowns, which could skew that number a little bit. So I will not be the ever optimist, and I will say over, or I'm out.
I'm out on it, but I'm not going to be a whole lot over 18 points. Like I can see 18 and a half, 19, and like in that range. I think that he's really got a really good number here with 18 because listening to some of the again, like computer model type people and stuff like that, the side of the ball that regresses to the mean more easily is the defensive side of the ball. And so like things like turnovers fluctuate quite a bit from year to year, and sack totals and all those different things. So I think the offense has a chance, even with a new quarterback, with the skill talent they've got and the line they've got, it has a chance to keep it up here. I think that there's at least a little bit of a chance with a new defensive coordinator for that number to bounce up a little bit from the 15.5 that they had last year. Now, remember that 15.5 does still include 3 top 10 teams that they played at the end of the season.
That's true.
But allowing for the new defensive coordinator, I'll be out and say it's going to be over 18, but I don't think it's going to be a ton over 18. Like 18 to 20 is where it's going to be, I think. And that's still a really good number. And if they beat that, that's even better, obviously.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I don't want to go out on a limb and say that they're going to be better than they were last year. They got a ton of talent. I think that the Jimmies and Joes are awesome. You know what I mean? I don't want to be overly enthusiastic about stats when it comes to the defense just yet, right? There's still some holes that I need to see filled before I get too excited about it. I'll leave it at that,
right.
From a run defense standpoint, some things like that.
Yeah. But I mean, the secondary, I think is
secondary is outstanding.
And I think that the secondary is going to go a long way toward, helping to cover maybe some of those holes that you're talking about.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
After a timeout, we'll do some more we in, we out. We'll also talk more about Notre Dame's quarterback competition. That happens to be a hot topic, a big topic that everyone wants to talk about. So we'll do a little bit more of that right after this. Welcome back. Sean Stiers, Vince DeDario. It's Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Did that break seem a little bit longer than usual, Vince, by any chance?
I was thinking the opposite, actually. But
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So here's the good news for everyone who complains that we have too many commercial breaks. That'll be our last commercial break this hour because we were a little bit light. So I kind of moved some stuff around, and we won't have another commercial break this hour. So we've got 26 minutes just to live free and go for it.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Mixing it up. It's we in, we out day, but we've got a lot of, and we started the show talking about quarterback stuff, and we've got a lot of quarterback stuff building up in the chat right now with, this report that came out earlier today that said from a national guy who said that he was hearing Kenny Minchie's got a slight lead in this race. And again, I find it very hard to believe if you're not hearing it from one of the people here locally that he got that from any direct source that would bear any kind of significance. KCMCC in the YouTube chat says, I'm thinking Minchie is going to win the starting spot, can run, and is composed emotionally for a hostile environment. Now, you were kind of asking about this composed emotionally thing. And Casey said, all the chatter about his calm demeanor, whereas next to nothing about Carr. I guess this just shows how I don't pay attention to what other people are saying, Vince, because I didn't know this was a thing. This is yet another, storyline, side note, whatever, that I didn't know was a thing, that all of a sudden one of these guys has a calm demeanor and the other doesn't.
Right. This is the first that I have heard this particular, comparison, I guess you could say. And I wonder where that could even be coming from. And maybe it's a topic of conversation that some people are having or whatever, but where's your proof? Are you looking at high school film? Why is one guy more composed than the other guy? We have seen literally nothing at practice that would say one or the other from a composition standpoint.
We saw one live practice that would give you any indication of demeanor, under fire.
The first practice of the season.
Exactly. And the only other thing that we have to go on is what we saw the last two springs. That's the only time we've seen these guys live, because they ran 8 plays against Purdue last year. There's nothing you can draw from that, that's going to tell you anything about the demeanor of either one of these guys. It's like, again, not a lot of live stuff, but I haven't seen either one of these guys running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and the other, looking like he's Joe Montana,
Right.
So I don't know where that comes from.
Nothing about anything I've seen in drill work, because that is what we have been allowed to see over the last 3 practices, is basically drill work, right? I don't know how you can make a definitive statement about who's more composed than somebody else when they're throwing to managers, on air. I just, you know what I mean? I just don't know where that's coming from. And if somebody could explain that to me, that would be great. And I understand that the fans are saying they're hearing it from certain media members and things like that, but I would love to talk to the media members and be like, how do you know this? How is this a statement that you're making that you feel really good about? You know what I mean? That would be my biggest thing. And, and again, it feels very much like people are throwing darts at the dartboard, hoping that they're going to hit something. And then when it becomes true, they'll be like, I told you, this is what I tried to tell you. And if they're wrong, they won't ever bring it up again.
It just feels to me like, when you look at where some of this other stuff came from, and we were talking last week about this supposed why not Kenny stuff.
Yeah, right.
There's a narrative build that has been in progress. It's like, well, I'll take the devil's advocate point on everything. I'll take the counterpoint on everything, because some of the same people who are now pushing Kenny Minchie were the same ones who were pushing Steve Angeli all spring.
Right.
And look how that turned out. And it's not shade at either one of those guys. It's just true.
Look, here's the bottom line. Kenny Minchie's a really talented quarterback, and CJ Carr's a really talented quarterback. They should be pushing each other. It is close. They are different styles of quarterback, right? One is better at certain things than the other, and vice versa. And so it's really, at the end of the day, is going to come down to what does Marcus Freeman, Mike Denbrock, and Gino Guidugli want this offense to look like, and that's how they're going to pick their quarterback.
Yeah.
Both guys are making mistakes. Both guys are making really good plays. I know this for a fact. So, it's basically going to come down to preference, I think, at the end of the day. And if anybody thought that CJ Carr was going to absolutely run away with this competition, is throwing shade at Kenny Minchey, because he is really talented. And I never thought that was going to happen. So I thought that CJ Carr would be slightly ahead, and then maybe he ends up winning the battle. But if Kenny wins, okay, that means he beat out CJ Carr, which means they're still going to have a really good quarterback behind center.
Yes, Scott L. Esquire is saying that it is an overreaction to the comment to either Denbrock or Gino, who talked about his demeanor, apparently.
Gotcha.
So I have no idea what's in either one of these cuts, but hang on here just a second. But I am looking back. Fortunately, I've saved some of these cuts.
Look at you.
And I've got, now again, I don't know if these are the specific ones that are being referred to, but we'll just go ahead and listen to both of them and see what they say. So
cool.
First, we will go to Gino Guidugli on Kenny Minchey.
Like, he is, like, to me, it's 50-50. Like, whoever has the next 2 weeks has the best practices will be the start quarterback. Like, there isn't one guy that's coming in saying, like, right now he's got the edge. Right now he would be the guy. Like, it's wide open competition. The reps are going to be split right down the middle, and whoever puts together the most consistent training camp is going to be the guy week one.
Okay, so there's Gino Guidugli. Didn't address that specifically, but I mean, he
Already
told you how the competition was going to be broken out. They were going to split the reps. Whoever's the best is going to get the job.
And they have absolutely abided by that plan. And they have one guy going with the ones one day, one guy going with the ones the next day, and vice versa. So they have absolutely stuck to that plan as far as we can tell. Here
is Mike Denbrock on why not Kenny Minchey.
There's absolutely no reason why Kenny can't be the starter. We have full confidence in whichever one of those guys wins the job to lead this football team and do a good job of doing it. So, there's a lot of outside noise and opinion, and, everybody, is entitled to that, of course, you know what I mean? But we're going to let this thing play out on the field, and we're going to make the best decision for the football team.
Okay.
There you go.
A lot of outside noise, says Mike Denbrock.
And he was talking. He probably looked at certain media members right in the eye, and then he said, "Which they're entitled to do," which they are entitled to do. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, as wrong as it may be at times. But everybody, including myself, for that matter, right? I'll throw myself there.
We're not always right. We're not always wrong.
I guess my biggest thing is I will say certain things based on what I actually see with my eyes. You know what I mean? I will come up with opinions based on what I see. I will not come up with opinions just based on a bunch of randomness that I throw together in a Rubik's Cube and hope that it comes out right. You know what I mean? So, look, I may be wrong. I think CJ Carr wins the job. But like I said, if Kenny wins the job, awesome. I'm not rooting for CJ Carr to win the job. Yeah. There's the difference, right? I want to be clear on that. That's the difference. What I think is going to happen, and I'm not rooting for either one. I'm rooting for Notre Dame to be a good football team. So let's go. You know what I mean? So if it's Kenny, let's roll. If it's CJ, let's roll. Like, I just want them to win on August 31st. That's all I want.
Bottom line, as Corey Dean says in the YouTube chat, don't be a lava slinger. That's what it comes down to. That's right.
Yep.
Don't be a jabroni, and don't be a lava slinger.
Right. Never want to be a jabroni. That's right. For sure. That's for sure.
All right, we've got some time for some more we in or we out questions. Freeman for life. We got to a couple of his. He says Mike Elko and Texas A&M will win 10 games this season, including the postseason. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm still a huge fan of Mike Elko and, what he's what he is as a football coach, what he can do down at Texas A&M with the resources that he is given, right? I think he can have a lot of success down there. Will they win 10 games? Look, they had a lot of talent on their team last year, and they lost 5 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of nuts when you think about it. When you think of how talented that defense was, then they lost 5. And I realized they had quarterback issues, and they had kind of a revolving door there and injuries.
But their defense was much more disappointing than they thought it was going to be.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
It became a much bigger issue than what they thought it was going to be.
So if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're saying that they're going to lose that game, right? So that's 11-1, and I assume he means 10 wins for the regular season. No, it's including the postseason. Okay, so they could lose 3 games in the regular season and win
Still
a
get to
bowl
10.
game and get to 10. Okay, so that is an important caveat here. Let's roll through it here real quick.
It's hard to include the postseason, though, because once you get to the postseason, are you playing in the playoffs? Or are you playing in a bowl? Because what happens now if you're just in a bowl instead of the playoffs? With the exception of Colorado last year, because Deion Sanders got his son and Travis Hunter to stick around for most everybody opts out. So the team that you're playing with in a bowl game is completely different than the one that you had in the regular season most of the time.
They got some tough games on their schedule, Sean. They got Texas. They have South Carolina. They have LSU. Those are 3 tough games.
Notre Dame, obviously.
Plus you had Notre Dame. That's 4. What is Florida going to be like, right? So, I mean, you've got some tough games in there, and then you add in the postseason. I'm going to say I'm out. I don't know that they get to 10 wins this year, so I'm going to say I'm out on that.
Yeah, I'm out on it as well. I'm seeing 9 as their ceiling, I think, this season.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. There's just, and it's nothing against Elko. I think he's building this thing up. It's just, they got some tough ones. They do have some tough ones.
I agree. Ballpeen Shillelagh. We in or we out? The most crucial aspect of Notre Dame's season will be the improvement in the offensive line's pass blocking.
You know what? I'll be in on that. I think that's a very important aspect of this because of the type of quarterback that is going to be behind center. It's going to be somebody that wants to throw the ball more often than they did with Riley Leonard. And so they need to be able to protect him. They have to protect a rookie quarterback. That's going to be really important. And I feel much better about a lot of other aspects of the team. And so I will say that I'm in on that.
I'm slightly out. It's going to be important, but ultimately it's going to come down to just what the quarterback looks like, whoever the quarterback ends up being. I think that's going to be much more crucial because we're going to get, regardless of who it is, whether it's Minchie or Carr, we're going to get a first-time starting quarterback. And there is talent on this team throughout the roster. There is depth, we haven't seen in quite a while. I think that ultimately it's just going to come down to quarterback play.
Cool.
So I've got to be out.
They got to keep them upright. It's important.
Yep. Another one from Ballpeen. Arizona State lives up to their preseason ranking at number 11.
I'm out. I do not have the faith in Arizona State that a lot of other people have. And I know you are.
And by other people, you mean me.
Well, not just you. They're ranked 11th. You don't vote in this poll, right?
No, I guess that's okay. Okay. So you're saying a lot of people are much too high.
Yes.
Arizona State.
Based on what they did at the end of last season. So
yeah, I'm
out. I don't think they make the playoff.
Whether they make the playoff, I don't know. But I guess if you're going to live up to your preseason ranking of number 11, that probably means you're going to be in the playoff.
Yeah, that's why I looked at it.
They only lost 5 guys. They returned 17 starters, including the quarterback from a team that went to the playoffs last year. Northern Arizona, Mississippi State, Texas State, Baylor, TCU, Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, Iowa State, West Virginia, Colorado, Arizona. They don't even play Kansas State. And they don't play either Kansas team for that matter. But Kansas State is obviously the higher ranked of the two going into the season. That's just, to have that many guys back, it would be a major, major flop if they're not in the, Big 12 championship game at the end of the season. So I'm gonna be in on this. I do think they'll live up to the ranking. I don't understand why so many people like you, DeDario, are out on Arizona State.
I'm not a believer yet. I'm not there. I'm not a believer. I think they were riding. They had a really, really comfy seat in that Cinderella shoe last year. That's the way I see it.
Okay. All right. In or out, Florida State would have had a better season last year under Brian Kelly than they did Mike Norvell.
Yeah, I do think that, because Brian Kelly is a very good coach. He's a very good coach. He's not a championship level coach yet. That's where I'm at the D1 level. And
now,
so I think he would have been better.
Are we assuming like exact same scenario? Brian Kelly gets the exact same roster turnover that Mike Norvell had and gets the exact same roster, DJ Uiagalelei and the whole thing?
I still think that Brian Kelly would at least foster a better culture, and they would have won more than 3 games.
Okay. I could buy that. I think they're at least closer to 500, if nothing else.
Yep. The bar is not set very high to say that he would do better than Norvell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's true.
I do. One thing that we can count on with Brian Kelly outside of obviously 2016 is he's going to have a team that's going to get to like 8, 9, 10 wins. You know what I mean? Like that's Brian Kelly, and that's what LSU signed up for, and that's what they've gotten so far. And so that's who I think they are, or who he is, I should say, until he proves me wrong, which maybe he will at some point. But as of right now, I think he would win more games than Norvell won last year.
We'll see if last year was Norvell's, 2016, basically, for Brian Kelly. BK's personal chef with a few we in, we out questions. A Notre Dame wide receiver makes a play during our eventual win over the Canes that will be labeled as a surefire Sports Center top 10 play of the week. Are you in or out on that, Vince?
Man, that's a very specific situation. But here's the thing. It's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of other games going on that day, and there's no NFL. So the odds of the winning team having a Sports Center top 10, are good. So I'll be in on it. Why not? Because I do think the quarterbacks are going to be good, and that means that they will be dropping some dimes, and there'll be a wide receiver that makes a nice play. So I'll be in.
All right. I think I'm going to be in as well. I like the way you broke it down there because it is a Sunday night game, and I'm looking to see if I can find the rest of the – okay, here we go. There's a lot of games on Saturday. There's only 2 games on Sunday.
There you go.
Notre Dame, Miami, and Virginia Tech, South Carolina. So I'll be totally in on this.
Yeah. Just lack of inventory, as they say.
Yep. Lack of competition. In or out, Emil Wagner lets up 1 or fewer pass pressures against Miami and Texas A&M combined.
I got to be out on this. As much as I am an Emil Wagner fan, just a pressure is very easy to give up. And you're talking about 2 full games, I'm going to be out.
Stonewall Wagner, Vince. Stonewall Wagner. I'm totally out. He's not going up against Darth Vader this year. That's the who he's gonna have across from him is gonna look a lot different than last year. So I'll be in on this one. I'll say you're not getting past Emil Wagner.
Yeah, I think you're the rose-colored glasses guy today.
I might be.
I love it. I love where you're coming from here, Skyers.
We've switched roles to
man. I like all of a sudden I'm Mr. Negative when it comes to Notre Dame. I don't know what's happening.
Our win over Miami will be both more decisive and more nationally recognized than the win over Texas A&M to open the season 2-0. In or out on that?
I'm in on it because right now Miami's a top 10 team and Texas A&M isn't. And so if Notre Dame wins a decisive game over Miami, that's going to be way more heralded than winning a home game against Texas A&M, a team that they beat last year. So I'm out.
I'm in on what. Go ahead.
I think I want to make sure I got it right.
The win over Miami will be more decisive and more nationally recognized than the win over Texas A&M.
In
on that.
Yes, in and in.
I'm going to be out. I think that this game against Miami is going to be closer than some people might expect. Are you still predicting a lopsided game at this point?
I'm predicting a double-digit win for
Okay.
sure at the moment, and I think that will be even more heralded, as they say. So,
all right,
yeah.
Domer Grizz, all 5 guys in the safety competition: Adon Schuler, Tay Johnson, Luke Talich, Jalen Stroman, and Jadon Blair will play meaningful minutes this year, even if they all stay healthy. We in or we out on that?
I'm out just because that's just too many. I don't see there being 5 guys in the rotation playing quote unquote meaningful minutes. I don't think that's going to happen. Are all 5 of those guys going to get snaps at safety? Yes, I do believe that. But I don't believe that all 5 are going to be in an even rotation where they get meaningful minutes. So I've got to be out on that. If you shrunk it down to 4, I would be in. Who are you getting rid of? That's the question. But I'm out on 5.
At least 2, if not 3 of these guys are going to be significant special teams guys, but I'm not going to, I don't think that that's like the spirit of the question. So there's just no way that 5 guys, it's going to be tough enough trying to rotate 4.
Right.
If that's even a possibility. It's not going to happen with 5. So I've got to be way out on that. But again, I think everyone on here is going to health, whatever aside, everyone on that list, all 5 of those guys are going to see the field pretty much every game this season because of special teams. So,
yep.
Also from Domer Grizz, all 4 other scholarship safeties, Minnick, Long, Brandon Logan, and Tabron Benipal will see playing time either in wrap-up minutes or on special teams, in or out.
No, they'll see minutes on special. Well, Minnick will definitely see time on special teams. I don't know about the other 3 just because you might want to redshirt them, which I believe I don't have the roster memorized, but I think those guys are all young enough to have another redshirt possibility. But I do not see them all getting. I mean, it's possible that they run them out there.
Like, I think that of the 5 we just talked about, the main 5 guys, if you want to call it that, some of those guys are going to be eating up a lot of special teams minutes,
right?
Or special teams. They're going to be playing on special teams. I can't see these other guys also all being in that mix. So I've got to be out.
Yeah, and we're not. Tay Johnson is not redshirting. I never said that. I'm talking about the next group of people, just so the chat is aware of that.
Right. And again, he's going to play. It's just a matter of how soon he plays significant at safety. And, again, if he's not out there at safety, I expect him to be on a bunch of special teams. You know who we get to talk to in our next opportunity? Special teams coordinator, Marty Biaggi. Yeah.
You know what else was very interesting about that particular lineup of people?
What's that?
There's no kicker.
Well,
it's just the punter and the long snapper.
The long snapper?
Yeah, it's on the list. I just read it.
Oh, boy.
So you get to talk to Vinci and you get to talk to the Australian.
But we also get Mike Mickens, so that's good.
This is true. I just thought that was interesting that when the special teams people are out, you've got 2/3 of the special teams. But hey, whatever.
Yeah. Joe Allen, we in or we out. One team that's in the top 10 will drop out of the top 25, and one team outside the top 25 will be in the top 10 by the end of the season. In or out?
It's too many things to happen. So I'm going to be out on that.
It's really not that much. You're just swapping one.
Right. So for your benefit, Sean, here are the people that were others receiving votes. And you tell me if you think there's a top 10 team in this mix.
Ooh, a top 10. Okay.
That's what it says, right? Isn't that what it's not in the top 25, in the top 10.
Okay.
So here we go. BYU, Utah, Baylor, Louisville, USC, Georgia Tech, Missouri, Tulane, Nebraska, UNLV, Toledo, Auburn, JMU, Memphis.
Okay, you can stop.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have to keep.
That's fair.
I think Baylor's got a shot. I'm surprised that Utah.
Okay.
They're sitting right next to Baylor when I was looking at the list.
27th right now.
Yeah.
In that order.
Louisville's interesting. They haven't proven that they can be consistent
Yep.
from year to year under Brom. I would of that list, I would give Utah the best shot. I'm not sold on it though. So I'm going to be out. I don't see one of those teams vaulting up and into the top 10.
That's the hardest part, right? Will some of these guys be ranked? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But top 10, that's tough. Now, one of the top 10 teams being out of the top 25, that's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
But as of right now, we think everybody in the top 10 is pretty darn good.
All right, we got to hurry here because we're running out of time in this first hour. Irish English, I saved his, and Irish English jumped in late, and he said, sorry to see I missed the start of the show so I could see Sean's thoughts on the Jayhawks. I actually went backwards, if you noticed, in the way I was putting these responses up there. So he says, week 0 winners, Kansas State, Kansas, Western Kentucky, Hawaii. In or out on that, throwing a little parlay. So Kansas State is playing Iowa State, 2 ranked teams in week 0 in Ireland. Kansas against Fresno State, Western Kentucky against Sam Houston, and then you've got Stanford against Hawaii. I love that parlay.
Me too.
Irish English. I love that parlay. I would roll with those 4 right there. I'm not going to go really in depth, but look for the Jayhawks and the Wildcats to win week 1.
I'll tell you what, that might be my first FanDuel bet ever right there. Because I've used a different app before we have this relationship with FanDuel. So that might have to be my first FanDuel bet right there.
Okay. I'm going to save his other question for rapid fire. We'll address that in rapid fire. I think that's kind of a fun one that he's got in there. All right. Well, we gave you a commercial-free 26 minutes here on the old rock station as we roll toward the top of the hour. A lot of good questions in, we out, and some good quarterback conversation as always. After a timeout, we come back in hour 2 with rapid fire. And guess what? We've got more Notre Dame football talk in rapid fire and more coming up. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Hour 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. And you know what that means, Vince? It's rapid fire time.
I do know what it means, and I'm excited about it.
All right.
All right.
Salty says we look pensive. I don't know.
Oh, that's deep. It's too early for pensive. Like, I'm not ready to be pensive yet. I'm not watching my kid kick or watching a big fourth down play for Notre Dame. Like, I'm not pensive yet.
Concur. Okay. We're likely going to find out who Notre Dame's captains are very soon. So, what are your final predictions for who's going to end up being a captain for Notre Dame this season?
This is so hard. I hate doing these because
that's why I did it.
I know, because you're a glutton for punishing me. That's how this works.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I there are a lot of leadership qualities on this team. And so you can't necessarily go wrong with a lot of these guys, right? So I am going to go with 2 on offense and 2 on defense and just keep it simple, okay? Even though there'll probably be more than 4, that's where I'm going. So believe it or not, I do think my first one's a transfer, and I think he's getting a lot of publicity right now for being in the Goog all the time and spending the night there and all that stuff. So I think Will Pauling has a chance of being a captain, and he was a captain at Wisconsin.
I've got him on my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at you. Okay. All right.
Hear a lot of things about his leadership, from coaches and players and everybody over there. And like you hear, like we heard Mike Brown talking about, this is a guy who shows up at 5:30 in the morning to get over there and go to work. So I think he's a really good candidate list.
Yep.
Doesn't happen very often for a non-quarterback position player transfer.
Right. The next one I'm going to go offensive line, and I'm actually going to go Billy Schrauth here. I think that he is the most talented offensive lineman right now that is healthy. I think he is a beast, and I think he's got leadership qualities about him as well. And so I am going to take Billy Schrauth on offense.
I matched you with that one as well. We're 2 for 2.
Man, holy cow, this is crazy. Okay.
It's scary.
This is very scary. Okay, flipping over to the defensive side of the football, I think this one, I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but it's got to be right up there. I think Drake Bowen is going to end up being a captain.
3 for 3. I think coming into training camp, he was probably the lock of everybody to be a captain this season.
I do feel that way as
well.
How
it felt. Yep. Okay, so we got Schrauth, Pauling, Bowen. That's 3.
Yep. I really this next one is actually fairly difficult for me because I feel like everybody across the defensive line is probably too young, hasn't really contributed enough yet, unless I'm forgetting somebody that, but I feel like that's the case. So I'm out on the defensive line.
Me too.
We've got linebacker covered.
Yep.
Okay. I know a lot of people would like me to say Adon Schuler here, but I don't think they're going to make a sophomore, or a redshirt sophomore. I just don't think he's going to be a captain.
He's been around the program for 3 years, though.
I know.
The players vote on it.
That's true. I'm throwing my chips over to the Christian Gray category.
Okay.
Because I do think he shows resilience. I think he's actually a very good player. I think the players like him, and I think he's, I think he has a lot of leadership qualities as well. So I'm going Christian Gray as my second defensive captain.
Here's where we split. I don't disagree with what you're talking about with Christian Gray and his leadership qualities and resiliency and all that stuff. I would say A+ on those accounts, but I think that I think Adon Schuler is going to end up like in terms of like most likely candidate from the secondary. That's who I would go for. Okay. Sportsman Philly 22 says Leonard Moore for captain. Could happen. Would be very rare for sophomore to be captain, though.
That's
why I think Adon Schuler, again, eligibility-wise, he's a sophomore as well. but this is his third season. So, going into his third season, just like Drake Bowen, he's been around a little bit. And in terms of guys who are going to be out there on the field, like vocal guy and, a guy who's been around and got a lot of playing experience as well. So that's why I'm going in with Schuler.
Okay. I have no argument with Schuler. He has shown some exemplary leadership qualities on the field that we've been able to see, like coaching up guys and getting whoever's going to be safety next to him ready to go. So I have no pushback on Adon Schuler in any way, shape, or form. I think he's a great kid, and I would not be surprised in any way if he ended up being a captain.
That's 4. Do you think we get 5?
I'm going to say this as a dark horse candidate, Eli Raridan.
Craig just asked that in the
there you
YouTube.
Go. Oh, there you go. I didn't see that. So Eli Raridan, I think, is a dark horse because he has been around the program for a very, very long time, has obviously shown resiliency with his injury history, and all of those different things. And frankly, he's been balling out from what we have actually seen with our own eyes, as well as what we're hearing from sources too. So
yeah,
I think he's a dark horse candidate for me.
Got some other nominations: Faison, Snead. I'm wondering what kind of, Jeremiah Love, not the most vocal guy, at least from what we get to see, fairly low key, kind of maybe a lead by example type guy. But I like very high work ethic, obviously very high skill level, again, like when you talk about lead by example and some of those kind of things. So I wonder where he fits into the mix. So you can take Raridan. I'll take Jeremiah Love as a possibility.
Jeremiah Love would not surprise me, Sean, because they have shown a tendency to select a captain of a guy who they know is probably going to be out of here after 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't necessarily surprise me. Kind of like they did with Benjamin Morrison. They knew he wasn't coming back for his senior year. They make him a captain. Again, he has qualities
this
too.
process that they use now too, where they get up in front of the room and they tell everybody why they want to be the captain and all that kind of stuff. Like how much that kind of comes into play. This is one in the back of my mind I've been wondering about. Father David says Kevin Bauman, dark horse candidate. And I do wonder, I think that he would have made, like, had he stayed healthy, I think that he probably maybe could have worked his way in there. I don't know, like now that he's, retired and all that kind of stuff, like how any of that play into it, I guess.
Right. And I want to say I saw a clip, because they're starting to talk about the documentary and all that stuff that's going to come out, and they're not even going to premiere it until December, which is bogus.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought I saw a clip of him actually up at the front talking about, why he wanted to be a captain. And obviously, this was prior to his injury.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely a dark horse candidate for sure.
Yep. Okay, so Salty Virginia Peanuts in the YouTube chat, very upset with me. He says, that does it. I'm not submitting any more in-outs if they're not going to be read. As usual, he waits till the last minute. I went and checked the timestamp. It did say 4:40.
Okay, so you did get in under the wire.
But the thing is, you have to hit refresh to, for like the new ones to show up. They don't just, it doesn't auto load by itself.
Correct.
Like once I open the browser for the chat where the we in, we outs are submitted, anything that's on the Champions Lounge, it doesn't just auto populate.
Correct.
You have to physically hit refresh. So I had opened it. I scrolled all the way to the bottom, hit refresh at least once after I opened it. Apparently that must have been before 4:41 when Salty put in his question. So here is a bonus we in, we out that we'll do in rapid fire from Salty Virginia Peanuts in the YouTube. The departure of Chad Bowden has helped Irish recruiting in general and Al Washington most of all. Washington does best when he can pick his guys early and just stay with them for a couple of years. Interferences and challenges from Bowden were always a barrier for him. In or out on that, Vince?
That's a lot of information to just take off the hizzy. Let's see.
I do think that I have always thought that the way quite a coincidence if Chad Bowden didn't have something to do with it. The way defensive line recruiting has picked up in these last 6 months.
Yeah.
Chad Bowden went to Southern California and Al Washington has been here, maybe without some of that. Looking at the defensive line recruiting has gone through the roof since Chad Bowden has left. So I'll just
coincidence.
I know. I'll just go in on this.
Okay. I'll ride your coattails right on through this one and say I'm in on it as well. I love it. Al Washington has been one of the more polarizing coaches that are still on the staff. And I find that very fascinating as well. People just despised him for a while. And now, he's pulling in these recruits and doing what he's doing, coaching these guys up. He's the golden child. And now he's the man, So, love it.
I know. Yep, the tide has definitely swung. It has turned on Al Washington. That's for sure. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame practiced at Penn High School last night after practicing at School Field in South Bend last week. The off-campus practices at local high schools are blank, Vince.
I like them. They're a change of pace.
School Field, or is it like? I know it's got a naming. Like, we're still calling it School Field.
Well, it is School Field, but it's Everwise.
Like a sponsor. Okay,
Everwise School
it's
Field.
Changed a couple times.
It used to be TCU, and then Everwise bought TCU, and it's the same thing at Penn. Actually, it used to be TCU Freed Field, and now it's Everwise Freed Field.
Okay,
so there you
All
go.
Right. Good enough.
So we got the plug out there.
Yeah, got all the sponsors in.
Yes, I actually like it. I think it's a change of pace for the players. I think that it, gets them out of their comfort zone a little bit, which I think is actually a very good thing. I do find it very comical that they try to keep these things a secret, and then they take 4 Royal Excursion buses with police escorts, down the road.
To the high school.
Yeah, I mean, police escort in the back, in the front, like you could do it a little more stealthily if you really wanted to keep it a secret, but whatever. But overall, I think it's a good idea to get the guys off campus. It's not far.
I mean, if you really wanted to be stealth, just get some PHM school buses.
Right.
Get like 10 school buses and have them pull up to Notre Dame campus and just roll out there with no police escort. No one's going to know, any different. Just have the police cars kind of set up to make sure they can get in and out and whatever, or go with some unmarked cars, I guess. But yeah, you're exactly right. Not exactly stealth.
No,
you've got to roll that way.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I think it's cool. I like this better than when they used to pack up and start training camp down at Culver Academies.
That was awful.
No, I mean, for us, it was brutal. I get why Brian Kelly did it, but like part of the reason was also we had a kid who was going there for at least part of the time, and there was kind of like helping out. But they did it. They had the dorms set up so they could actually camp down there and the whole thing, and they had multiple fields and everything. But I like this because you're kind of spreading the love right here in town, and you're giving the South Bend School Corporation and the Penn Harris Madison Corporation, and I think they've been to St. Joe before as well. You're giving some of these local places the opportunity to have Notre Dame on campus. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah, and they let the high school team, watch practice for the first 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, so you're kind of building some relationships, in town and stuff like that.
I dig that because I've complained many times about how ticket prices are pricing the local people out of going to games, as opposed to when I was a kid and I was able to get tickets pretty easily to go to games. And that's partly how I fell in love with Notre Dame. Being a Notre Dame fan was going to the games, and unless you've got connections or, all those different and deep pockets, you don't get to go to games as a high school kid. You know what I mean? And so having them on the, at the local high schools, interacting with the kids to a degree, I think that's huge. And it also allows them, I always liked it because it allowed the kids to actually see, this is what a high Division I football team actually looks like.
Yeah.
From a size standpoint, from a speed standpoint, this is how they operate during practice. You like to see that sort of thing to bring some expectations to your own team. So I like it.
I think has Mishawaka had him over there before as well?
Maybe. I think maybe
last year
that would make sense.
in the
Yeah.
spring, even something like that.
Yeah. It's been since they got the turf because they would have never had him out on the grass, I would imagine. So
Not that grass.
No.
Sand traps.
Oh, awful. The spray painted dirt.
Yeah. But I think it's pretty cool the way they're
It is.
doing that now with the local high schools. After a timeout, we will continue with rapid fire and we will wrap things up. We've still got about 15, 20 minutes to go here on the show. Relatively short break, and then we'll be right back with more right after this. Got about 15 minutes left here. That's like so much time. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stiers. It's rapid fire, and we have been crawling through some rapid fire. I wanted to
Just a little bit.
I wanted to put this one up from Irish English, who submitted this question for the we in or we out portion of the show. He says, visors are for guys that are afraid of commitment. Either wear a hat or don't, Kiffin. Are we in or we out on that, Vince?
Well, that feels very pointed. It's funny because to be a visor guy, you have to be a certain type of guy. And generally, I don't get along with visor guys. So I'm in on it. I'm in.
I tried wearing a visor for a little bit. This was a long time. It was when I still had hair. But then when I saw a picture of the back of my head and, the spot was starting to form, I was like, it's kind of stupid to wear a visor and have that developing on the back of my head.
That's fair.
So I did without. Now, the other aspect of this is my guy, Brian Schottenheimer. I don't know if you've seen him. He likes to wear his visors backwards, which is like a whole nother element of this whole thing.
Wow.
Coaches are big. More coaches are big on the visors, it seemed like. Started with Steve Spurrier.
Well, offensive coaches love the visor.
That's true.
I'm going to go on and say that because, and I'm even thinking, like you said, Spurrier, Kiffin, who else am I thinking about? Kelly. Kelly's a visor guy.
Kelly is a visor guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And there's a couple of local high school people that I know that are visor guys. They're all offensive guys.
You think it's a golf thing?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Golfers, big visor guys, it seems like.
Yeah. It's just visor guys just rub me the wrong way in general.
Visor guy or hat backwards guy? Which rubs you worse?
Hat backwards guy is fine if you are on a baseball field and are a player. I'm okay with hat backward, like a Ken Griffey Jr. at batting practice.
Yeah,
hat backwards. Let's roll. Other than that, I'm not a hat backwards guy at all. Once you hit like 24, you need to stop wearing the hat backwards.
I tend to agree. I used to be a hat backwards guy when I was young, but that was essentially like, through high school. Hat backwards guy right after high school. Still, young guy, but it's been pretty much, bill forward, bill, pull down the bill, kind of like, like the way a ball player would wear it or whatever.
Correct.
It's yeah. Father David says, once you're over 25, wear a hat properly.
That's all I'm saying. No cock to the side, none of that stuff. Just, come on, let's go.
I concur.
Vince is a beret guy. Come on, Bobby.
A beret. I want to see Vince in his raspberry beret.
Oh, that's a song reference. I got that one.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Glad. I'm a trucker hat guy. I like a fitted trucker hat. That's where I'm at.
Me too.
So,
not so much the fitted, because my head size, I do much better with the snap fit on the back.
I like the old school fitted like baseball hats. Those are tough because they shrink and they expand. Like those are tough. But I like the new style, like the flex fit. Big fan of the flex fit.
See, I don't like the flex fit because it's like because it's the elastic in there and it ends up being much snugger on my head than I appreciate. I like a little room. I like it to move around.
You got to size up, man.
Want it on my terms, Vince.
It's always about you.
That's
always about you.
That's right. Okay, we heard some comments from Notre Dame wide receivers coach Mike Brown earlier this week. One guy we didn't get to hear him talk about is freshman Elijah Burris. I asked Brown what kind of training camp Elijah Burris has had.
Great camp, man. He's a special young man. He's extremely competitive, works very hard. He's hungry. Obviously, he's talented, and so. He's still young. But I'm really excited where he is. Like I said, man, he's made a lot of really big plays, and I think the future is really bright for him.
A lot of really big plays. Future is really bright. What are your expectations for Elijah Burris this season, Vince?
Oh, see, that's tough. My expectations for Elijah Burris are to maybe crack the rotation. But I would say my realistic expectations are that he's probably going to be on the outside looking in. And maybe is like the first group off the bench once the game's in hand, that type of thing, and be a significant special teams player like that. That's okay too, as a freshman. That you don't want to always be counting on freshmen. I think that's the big thing. Look, he's been playing really well. There's no doubt about it. It's a crowded wide receiver room right now. He's not going to crack the top 4. I think we can all agree on that. And then you get down to the Micah Gilbert. He would probably be 5. Maybe, the best opportunity he would have is to be 6. That's the best chance he's got.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to go much past 6. So that's the best opportunity that he has, I think.
I think so as well. I think he's going to be right on the bubble. He might not necessarily start in the top 6, but I could see him, just what we've seen from him so far, I could see him getting some opportunities, and maybe he works his way in there over the course of the season. But, I think that he's one of those guys who's going to come out, and when he gets some opportunities, it just feels like he's going to make the most of them. And when he does that, I think at some point he's probably going to be really hard to keep off the field.
Look, he's got the intangibles, right? He's got dad. He understands the game. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I just don't, I'm trying to temper the expectations as a true freshman. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, because it's been so hard for these guys to get on the field. But at the same time, with the way they continue to recruit and they get these guys here, I think we're going to start seeing more of them get on the field earlier. The big thing is, I think especially when you look at wide receivers, because even it's been a little bit different maybe within the last 10 to 12 years. It used to be, even going college to the NFL, as a rookie, it was really hard for those guys to get on the field. But I think because so much of the offenses have started to borrow, from college concepts and stuff like that, I think that maybe, that has played a role in some of these guys getting on the field earlier. I think the talent obviously has something to do with it as well. But when you look at so many of these guys coming out of high school, the difference in the kind of programs that they came from, where you can get away, with so many things based on talent alone, specific to playing wide receiver. You don't have to be as precise in your routes, you can round, your routes, and, you can be, a little less sharp with some of that stuff. But, once you get here, you're going to be held to a different standard. And it's the guys, who are able to adapt to that and become more consistent early on, who I think are going to continue to get on the field early.
Yeah, I think
But I think he can be one of them. Yeah.
I want to address a comment that was in the chat, and let's see here. It's from I Am Tenzin. He says, as long as he doesn't pull an Urlacher because of the depth chart. This is a 1-year depth chart, in my opinion, for at wide receiver, right? Urlacher left because the talent in that room was young, and he wasn't going to be able to get over it because they were either his age or younger. This situation, Malachi Fields is going to be gone. Will Pauling's going to be gone pretty quickly. Greathouse, phase out. Those guys are going to age out. And so he's not going to have to wait as long, right? So I don't think that it's the same type of scenario. I think he may have to wait this year to play a significant role, but I don't feel like that's going to be an issue, moving. I don't think the depth chart's an issue for him moving forward.
Yeah, because once this year's done, Malachi Fields and Will Pauling are both gone. If he's on the bubble pushing for time this year, he's going to find himself in the rotation next year. There's no doubt in my mind.
Completely agree.
I don't see it as I think yeah. So I agree with what you're saying. I don't see it as the same kind of issue there.
Yeah. Yep. I think I've been impressed with Saldate. I think he's actually played really well this fall.
Yeah.
Impressed obviously with Richardson, been impressed with Gilbert. And so you've got the 4 guys that are kind of locked in, and those other 2 spots, what is that going to look like? I think that's yet another thing that we're all going to be kind of keeping track of, and how deep they go kind of into that rotation in the big games.
Yep. By the way, there were some other questions that came in that we in or we out thread that I will save for rapid fire on tomorrow's show. We'll go ahead and get them in there after I hit refresh, and I saw Salties, and then I was like, oh, I just kept scrolling, and I was like, oh, there's even more after this. So I apologize for not seeing some of those questions that were in there. But again, I think it was after I got in and I pulled it up and I was getting stuff set up in the studio, needed to hit refresh one more time. So appreciate them. We'll get them in there tomorrow.
Just got to be patient. That's all.
Won't forget about them.
No big deal.
So we also heard from Max Bulla linebackers coach this week. Here's what he said about Teddy Rizak.
Teddy's awesome. Teddy's one of the glue pieces of the room. I'm not in there. I think he's he and his brother are both glue pieces of the team. Much more talkative in there than they are to us as coaches. It's funny, but no, they're like Kingston. I know went and would visit with Teddy like after being here for a year. Went back to Omaha with him and 35. Teddy's been working with Madden, so it's been Madden and Teddy. Like you said, Teddy's got high IQ. It's been able to help Madden along, which has been very beneficial because we've been doing a lot of two spot, which is one field, two field. And then the amount of reps that they can get over there is, that's everything. Just get reps. Even if you mess it up, get reps. And to be able to do it with someone like Teddy, who I pretty much trust and understand, and at least I know where his thoughts are, I think that's where his value's been as much as anything. And the guy can run. He's a football player.
All right, Vince. The guy's a football player. Where does Teddy Rizak fit in for Notre Dame, do you think?
He is going to be a starter on every special team that they've got, and I think that he is the fifth man right now. And it's tough because, I've heard people discuss the fact that the linebacker room could potentially be one of the best in the country, and to the detriment of Teddy Rizak, because he is super talented, but there's 4 guys ahead of him right now that are also super talented, and he's working with a third team. And I think that's a good place for him right now as far as defense is concerned. But I also think he's going to be a stalwart starter on special teams, which is fantastic. Sign me up. Give me a helmet. I would love to be a starter on special teams. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great spot for him, and I think it'll be very beneficial to the team.
He'll be a core special teams guy this year, and Madden Faramo is going to be in that picture as well because it's basically Rizak and Faramo who are behind that group of the 4 guys who are going to be in that rotation. So I won't bother repeating everything that you just said because I think that you pretty much nailed it with that. Tommy Gunn's going back to Notre Dame practicing at the high school facilities. Tommy says, where do the local teams practice when Notre Dame takes over their field? Well, practice just started for high school. Was it this week or last week?
It was last week.
But they're mostly practicing in the morning, I think.
So
still, right?
I can only speak to Penn. Right, because I know what their schedule looks like and how they operate. Yesterday, when Notre Dame practiced there, it was one of Penn's 2-a-days, and their 2-a-day gets over at 4:00. They go 8 to 4, and they have 2 practices and then meetings and stuff in the middle. And Notre Dame's practice was at night; it was like at 7:30, so it's plenty of time to swap it out.
Right, and in terms of school field, Washington and Adams share that as their home field, but so that stadium is not located on either home campus.
Yes, welcome to South Bend.
Both schools actually have to travel to use that as their home stadium. Adams is a little bit closer, but they both have practice fields, next to their high schools. So they don't use school field, for example, as a practice field.
I know that Adams does go to school field every now and again, but it's a very simple
but
thing
in general,
to stay at school because, fun fact, not one South Bend school plays football on their own campus. So that's interesting. All the campuses, all the football fields are at a middle school. So there's that. But yeah, I saw Frankie Karczewski, he's the head coach at Adams. He did his interview, locally, and they were at school field that day. So they go there every once in a while.
They just go over to Clay. Nobody's using that one anymore.
Right. Actually, Clay is great. I don't know if they're keeping it up still since it's closed. But the football field at Clay Middle, which is where Clay High School plays, the turf was always really, really good.
Yeah.
So
in terms of grass fields, it was probably the best one in the area.
Yeah. So, Notre Dame could go there without much of a problem and practice because they want to be on grass because of Miami and all that kind of thing.
That's right. Are they even is the middle school still open?
Oh, yeah.
Clay Middle?
It's a K-8 building now.
Okay.
Yep.
So I wonder if they're using it for their, middle school football or anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. That's one heck of a middle school stadium.
Yep. All right, well, that's going to do it for tonight. Again, the questions we didn't get to and we in, we out, we'll use in rapid fire tomorrow. Appreciate all the questions that we got today. Vince, I will talk to you tomorrow, sir.
I'll be there. See you then.
Right. We will talk to you then. South Bend Cubs baseball is on the way on Sports Radio WSBT.